So the car pulled into the camp, and it was late. It was dark, it was raining, and there were no lights on anywhere. I was in the car with my friends Jeff and Katie, and the stranger that had picked us up on the side of the road, because we were hitchhiking our way through the South Island of New Zealand. And we had nowhere to stay that night, and she said, you know, there's this camp down the road, and I'm sure they have extra spots you can stay. I'll just drop you off there. And she waited for us to get out of the car, and we said, I don't think anyone is here. She was like, no, you'll be fine. She gets our stuff out of the car and sets it down, and she leaves, and we were like, guess we're staying at this camp tonight. So Jeff goes up, and there's one house, and we see that in a room past the window, there's one light on. And so he knocks on the door, and this man opens the door. Max Lines. He's maybe the sweetest person I've ever met in my life. He looked at us, and before he even said anything, his eyes started to well up with tears. He said, I made myself dinner tonight. I've just been so lonely being here by myself. I was really hoping maybe someone would just show up, and I don't know why, but I didn't make just one for myself. I made 4. And there were 3 of us standing at his door. So we went inside and we ate with Max, and we learned that he played the pan flute. And he was really good. I didn't know you could be that good at a pan flute. And he played some music for us, and we talked and we laughed, and he gave us a place to stay for the night, and we were so grateful because we had been out in the rain all day. The next day, a friend of his came by to visit and drove us into town. We were in Queenstown, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous place on the South Island, and we spent the day at the park and said, you know, I wonder how the rest of our friends are doing that kind of branched out, and they were on their own, and we looked across the park and we saw Justin, Rebecca, and Laura, who were 3 of our friends who had taken off at the same time that we did, and they didn't have anywhere to stay in Queenstown, and we were like, well, we met Max. You could probably come stay with us with Max. So they make their way to Max's house, and Max was like overjoyed that 3 more people had shown up, because he had been so lonely being in this place by himself. He had signed up to watch this camp during their off season, and it was a huge, huge camp, and he was the only person that was there for months. He didn't have a car, he didn't really know anyone who lived in the area, and he was so happy that we were there. Between our group, we only had maybe $30 in cash. But we decided that we were going to go to the store, and we were going to buy as much food as we could buy for $30, and we were going to try and make this great dinner for Max to thank him for letting us stay. And we actually ended up being able to get a lot. And we had quite a few people in the group that knew how to cook, and so a couple people took Max out for a walk, and we didn't tell him that we were doing this. The rest of us stayed at the house, and we cooked this huge meal. And the house that he was staying on had this porch that overlooked just the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen. These really plush green fields. It was like the hills were actually rolling, and mountains in the background that were snow-capped, and the sky was bright blue. And there were these huge fluffy clouds in the sky, and a perfect breeze that came through. It was like the most perfect situation we could have thought of. And we set this long table that was on the deck, and we got all the food out, and Max came back home with our 2 friends, and we surprised him with this huge meal. And at the end of the meal, all of us thanked him for allowing us to stay, and through tears, he just looked at us and said, this meal was great, but what's more full is my heart.